A quiet mall food court, buzzing with chatter. A shy young woman, her hands flying in elegant, silent signs, pours out her heart to a complete stranger about the man who shattered her world. But right behind her, a sharply dressed millionaire stops dead in his tracks, his coffee cup frozen mid-sip. He understands every single gesture, and what he learns is about to unleash a storm of sweet, satisfying justice. This isn't just revenge, it's karma in high definition. If you've ever been belittled, betrayed, or made to feel small by someone who thought they could get away with it, you're in the right place. Hit that like button if you're rooting for the underdog, subscribe for more heart-pounding Reddit revenge tales that hit you right in the feels, and buckle up, because this story of a shy girl's silent fury turning into triumphant payback will have you cheering by the end. Let me take you back to the beginning, where our story's hero, let's call her Maya, was just trying to navigate a world that often felt stacked against her. Maya was 24, born deaf in a bustling city in China, where she learned Chinese Sign Language, or CSL, as her lifeline to connect with others. But Maya was shy, painfully so. She had this soft, wide-eyed look, with long dark hair she often hid behind like a curtain, and a smile that only peeked out when she felt truly safe. Growing up, kids at school mocked her for being different, calling her gestures weird hand-waving. It left scars, deep ones, making her feel like she was always on the outside looking in. Powerless, invisible. That's how she felt when she met him, Alex. No, not his real name, but close enough for this tale. Alex was a charming gay in his late 20s, with a slick haircut, expensive watches, and a job at a fancy tech firm. They met at a coffee shop where Maya worked part-time as a barista, scribbling orders on notepads or signing to customers who bothered to learn a few basics. Alex was one of those rare ones, or so she thought. He picked up a few CSL signs from YouTube just to impress her, flashing them with a grin that made her heart flutter. For the first time, Maya felt seen. "You're amazing," he'd sign clumsily, his fingers stumbling but his eyes locked on hers. She fell hard, ignoring the red flags, like how he'd roll his eyes when she took too long to sign a story, or how he'd laugh off her frustrations as overreacting. But the honeymoon phase faded fast. Alex started showing his true colors. Little digs at first. "Why can't you just speak? It'd make things easier." Then bigger ones. He'd ignore her texts for days, blaming work, while Maya sat alone in her tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, her chest tight with that familiar ache of rejection. She'd clench her fists, thinking, "Why do I always end up here? Am I really that hard to love?" One night, after a fight where he yelled that her deafness was holding him back, Maya caught him cheating. She walked in on him at a party, his arm around another girl, laughing like Maya's pain was a joke. Her world shattered. Tears burned her eyes as she signed furiously at him. "You're a liar. You used me." But he just smirked, pretending not to understand, and said aloud for everyone to hear, "See, this is why it didn't work. Too much drama." The betrayal hit like a punch to the gut. Maya's stomach twisted, her hands trembling as she stormed out. For weeks, she replayed it, the smug look on his face, the laughter from his friends. Powerlessness washed over her again, that old childhood wound reopening. But Alex wasn't done. He started harassing her online, posting subtle digs on social media about dodging a bullet with a clingy ex. Knowing she'd see them, he'd show up at her coffee shop, ordering with a wink, like nothing happened, just to watch her squirm. Maya's boss, sensing the tension, warned her to keep personal drama out, but did nothing to stop him. Each time, Maya's heart raced, her palms sweaty, thinking, "He thinks he can break me and walk away scot-free. I wish I could make him feel even a fraction of this hurt." The frustration built like a storm. Maya confided in her few friends via video calls, signing her rage. "I want him to regret everything, to lose what he values most as money, his status." But she was just venting. What could a shy barista do against a guy like Alex? She felt trapped, her shyness a cage, until one fateful afternoon at the local mall. It was a crowded Saturday, the air thick with the scent of fried food and perfume. Maya was on her lunch break, sitting alone at a food court table, picking at a bowl of noodles. Her mind wandered back to Alex, the anger bubbling up. Suddenly, a stranger approached, an older man in his 50s, with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. He signed in CSL. "Excuse me, do you know where the bookstore is? I'm new here." Mai blinked, surprised. He was deaf too, his signs fluid and warm. Relief washed over her finally, someone who understood without effort. She signed back, "Sure, it's on the second floor, near the escalator." They chatted briefly about the city, the crowds, and Mai felt a rare spark of connection. But then, out of nowhere, Alex appeared. He sauntered over with his new girlfriend on his arm, spotting Mai like a shark sensing blood. "Well, look who's here," he said loudly, his voice dripping with sarcasm. The girlfriend giggled. Alex leaned in, pretending to sign sloppily, still moping. "Get over it." Mai's face burned, her hands frozen for a moment. The stranger looked confused, signing to Mai, "Is everything okay?" That's when the dam broke. Mai, her back to the crowd, turned to the stranger and unleashed it all in rapid CSL, her hands slicing the air with precision. "That jerk is my ex. He cheated, lied, mocked my deafness. Thinks he's untouchable because his dad's some rich guy he never talks to. I wish I could tell his family what a monster he is. He'd lose everything, the money, the car, the fake life. He deserves to be humiliated, to feel small like he made me feel." Her signs were fierce, her face flushed, brows furrowed in determination. She poured out the details of the cheating, the harassment, the cruel words that echoed in her mind at night. The stranger nodded sympathetically, signing back encouragement. I didn't notice the man behind her, just a few feet away, sipping coffee at the next table. He was in his 60s, dressed in a tailored suit, silver hair neatly combed, exuding quiet wealth. His name was Mr. Lee, a self-made millionaire who'd built a tech empire from nothing, and unknown to Mai, he was Alex's estranged father, and the one Alex bragged about but rarely saw, the source of his allowance and connections. Mr. Lee had learned CSL years ago when his late wife, Alex's mother, worked with deaf children. It was their shared passion. Now, as he watched Mai's hands fly, he froze. His coffee cup hovered inches from his lips, his body rigid like a statue. He understood every sign of the betrayal, the pain, the wish for justice. It hit him like a freight train. His own son, the boy he'd spoiled from afar to make up for his absences, was this abuser? Shock coursed through him, his heart pounding, face paling. "How could I not see this?" he thought. "I've enabled a bully." The world around him blurred. Time seemed to stop as the weight of it sank in. Mai finished signing, exhaling shakily, feeling a tiny release from venting. The stranger patted her shoulder supportively before heading off. Alex, oblivious, chuckled and walked away with his girlfriend, tossing a final taunt over his shoulder. Mai slumped in her chair, wiping a tear, wondering if she'd ever escape the cycle. But then, a tap on her shoulder. Mai turned, startled, to see Mr. Lee standing there. His hands moved slowly at first, then with confidence. "I saw everything you signed." "I'm sorry." Mai's eyes widened. He knew CSL? She signed back, confused. "Who are you?" Mr. Lee's face was a mix of sorrow and resolve. "I'm Alex's father," he signed, watching her jaw drop. "And what you described? It's unforgivable. I've been blind to who he's become." The mall noise faded as Mr. Lee explained. He'd cut ties emotionally years ago but kept funding Alex's lifestyle, hoping he'd mature. Now, seeing the damage through Mai's eyes, that ended. He pulled out his phone, dialing Alex right there. When Alex answered, smug as ever, Mr. Lee put it on speaker and signed to Mai to watch. "Son," he said aloud, his voice steeled, "I've just learned the truth about how you treated this young woman, the cheating, the mockery, the harassment. It's over. Your allowance, cut. The car, repossessed. Your job at my friend's firm, I'll make the call. You're fired by Monday." Alex's voice exploded through the phone. "What, Dad? You can't." "Who told you this crap?" Mr. Lee glanced at Mai, a small smile forming. "Someone who showed me the truth in ways you never could." Alex sputtered, begged, then raged as girlfriend's voice in the background, shocked and scrambling. But Mr. Lee hung up, turning back to Mai. "He'll feel the sting now," he signed. "And you? If you want, I can help you sue for harassment or offer you a job at my company. We need bright minds like yours." Mai's tears flowed freely now, but they were tears of relief, of validation. Her body, once tense with fear, relaxed as triumph surged through her. She signed, "Thank you," her hands steady for the first time in months. Alex's world crumbled in that moment, his facade shattered, while Mai's began to rebuild. Stories like this remind us that justice sometimes hides in the most unexpected places. A silent conversation, a frozen glance. Karma doesn't always need words, it just needs the right eyes to see. What goes around comes around, and when it does, it's so satisfying. Makes you think, how many times have we wished for that perfect payback, only to have the universe deliver it in ways we never imagined? In the bustling heart of Shanghai, where skyscrapers pierced the smoggy sky and crowds moved like rivers, lived a young woman named Ling. At 23, she was profoundly deaf, her world one of silence punctuated by the vibrant dance of Chinese Sign Language. Ling was shy, her delicate features often hidden behind a curtain of straight black hair, her eyes downcast to avoid the stares that followed her everywhere. She worked as a barista in a trendy cafe tilde copyright, scribbling orders on pads or signing to the rare customer who understood. It was there she met Jian, a charismatic man in his late 20s with sharp suits and a confident swagger. He learned a few basic signs to flirt, making her feel seen for the first time. Their romance blossomed quickly, but cracks soon appeared. Jian's patience wore thin. He'd mock her slow communication, ignore her during arguments, and belittle her dreams. The abuse escalated the emotional barbs that left her feeling worthless, culminating in his betrayal when she discovered his affair. Devastated, Ling confronted him, her hands flying in furious signs, but he laughed it off, calling her too sensitive and a burden. She ended it, but the pain lingered like a shadow. One afternoon, seeking solace in a crowded mall food court, Ling sat alone, her thoughts a storm. A kind stranger, also deaf, approached and struck up a conversation in sign language. Emboldened by the anonymity, Ling vented her rage, signing vividly about Jian's cruelty, his lies, and her wish for revenge. How she'd expose him if she could. Strip away his facade built on his estranged millionaire father's wealth. Unbeknownst to her, that father stood frozen just behind, overhearing every gesture. Mr. Wei, the millionaire in question, had built his empire from a single tech startup into a conglomerate worth billions. Now in his 60s, with silver hair and a stern gaze softened by regret, he had learned Chinese Sign Language years ago for his late wife, who volunteered with deaf communities. Estranged from Jian due to years of neglect on both sides, Mr. Wei still funded his son's lavish life from afar, hoping it would bridge the gap. But as he sipped his coffee that day, Ling's signs pierced him like arrows. He froze, cup midway to his lips, his heart pounding as he pieced together the truth. His son was an abuser, a cheat, a man who preyed on vulnerability. Shock turned to fury, then resolve. This shy girl, pouring out her soul in silent eloquence, had unknowingly handed him the key to redemption for both her justice and his own failures as a father. The mall's cacophony faded into a distant hum for Mr. Wei as he processed the scene unfolding before him. Ling's hands moved with a grace that belied the venom in her words, of fingers slicing the air like blades, palms slamming together in emphasis. He thinks he's untouchable, she signed to the stranger, her face flushed with a mix of anger and catharsis. Riding on his father's money, pretending he's self-made. If only his dad knew what a monster he raised at cheating, mocking my deafness like it's a joke, harassing me even after I left. I'd give anything to see him stripped bare, begging for scraps. The stranger nodded sympathetically, offering a few encouraging signs before excusing himself to continue his shopping. Ling exhaled deeply, her shoulders slumping as the emotional release left her drained but oddly lighter. She didn't notice Mr. Wei's rigid posture, the way his knuckles whitened around his coffee cup, or the storm brewing in his eyes. For Mr. Wei, time seemed to stretch. Memories flooded him, Jian as a boy, wide-eyed and eager, before the divorce, and Mr. Wei's endless work hours turned their relationship into a series of wire transfers and awkward holiday calls. He'd spoiled Jian rotten, thinking money could compensate for absence, but now he saw the rot it had bred. How could I have been so blind? He thought, his mind racing. This girl Ling, was it? From the details she saw Anita, her pain is my fault too. I enabled this. His chest tightened with guilt, a rare emotion for a man who'd built walls of steel around his heart after his wife's death. But Ling's story cracked those walls. He recalled his wife's passion for sign language, how she'd teach him phrases late at night, her laughter silent but infectious. This was fate. He decided a chance to honor her memory by righting a wrong. Quietly, Mr. Wei set down his cup and approached Ling's table. She looked up, startled, her eyes widening at the elegant older man in a tailored suit that screamed old money. He raised his hands and signed fluently. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I'm sorry for intruding, but I know the man you described." Ling's hands froze midair as she processed his words. "Overhear?" In sign language. Who was this stranger? She signed back cautiously. "How, and who are you?" Mr. Wei's expression softened, a mix of sorrow and determination etching lines deeper into his face. "My name is Wei Hao, and Jian. He's my son." The revelation hit Ling like a thunderclap. Her world tilted. The food court's fluorescent light seemed to buzz louder in her imagination. Though she heard nothing, Jian's father, the mythical millionaire he'd boasted about but claimed to despise. She signed rapidly. "Is this a joke?" he said. "You two barely speak." Mr. Wei nodded, his sign steady despite the tremor in his fingers. "That's true. I've been absent, funding his life from the shadows. But what you shared up, it's unforgivable. The cheating, the mockery, the harassment. I failed as a father, but I won't fail you now." Ling's heart raced, a cocktail of disbelief and hope surging through her veins. For months, she'd felt powerless, her shyness amplifying the isolation of her deafness in a hearing world. Now, this mana, a virtual ghost from Jian's pasta, offered validation she'd craved. They sat together then, Mr. Wei pulling up a chair as the mall shoppers swirled around them like oblivious extras in their drama. He signed his story, the rise from poverty in rural China, coding his first app in a dingy apartment, building Wei Tech into a powerhouse in iron software. But success came at a cost. His marriage crumbled, his son grew distant and entitled. "Jian resents me," Mr. Wei admitted, his eyes clouding. "But he lives off my empire. The apartment, the car, even his job at a subsidiary firm. It's all strings I pull." Ling listened, her initial shock giving way to empathy. She signed about her own life, growing up in a small town where kids teased her weird gestures, moving to the city for independence, only to fall for Jian's charm. "He made me feel special at first," she confessed, her hands slowing with vulnerability. "Then he tore me down, called my signs annoying, ignored me in public, cheated with someone who fits his image. And after, he stalks my social media, shows up at work to intimidate me." Mr. Wei's jaw tightened with each detail, his paternal instincts long dormant igniting into protective fury. "No more," he signed firmly. "Today, it ends." He pulled out his phone, his fingers flying over the screen as he composed messages. First, to his financial advisor, cut off all allowances to Jian, effective immediately. Next, to the HR head at the subsidiary, terminate Jian's employment for conduct unbecoming, with the vague reference to complaints that would hold up legally. Then, to his lawyer, prepare papers for potential harassment claims if Ling wished to pursue. Ling watched, her breath shallow, as Mr. Wei showed her the texts. "But won't he fight back?" She signed, a flicker of fear in her eyes. Mr. Wei smiled faintly. "He can try, but without my backing, he's nothing, and I'll ensure he knows why because of you." As the afternoon waned, Mr. Wei offered more than justice. He extended a hand of opportunity. "My company has programs for diverse hires," he signed. "We need translators, designers, people with your perspective. If you're interested, I can arrange an interview. No strings, just a fair shot." Ling hesitated, her shyness warring with excitement. For so long, she dreamed of more than steaming lattes, but doubt had held her back. Now, empowered by this unexpected ally, she nodded. "I'd like that," she signed, a tentative smile breaking through. Word spread quickly in Jian's world. That evening, as he lounged in his luxury apartment overlooking the Huangpu River, his phone buzzed incessantly. First, a bank alert, account frozen, then, an email from work, immediate termination. Panic set in, his cocky demeanor cracking like cheap glass. He called his father, the number he rarely used except for demands. "Dad, what the hell?" "My cards declined, and I just got fired." Jian's voice, though unheard by Ling, carried desperation Mr. Wei had never heard before. Mr. Wei, back in his penthouse office with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering cityscape, answered coolly, "You know why, son? I learned about Ling, the girl you abused, the cheating, the cruelty. It's over. No more handouts." Jian sputtered, "Who told you?" "That deaf bitch. She's lying." The slur ignited Mr. Wei's rage. "Watch your words," he snapped. "She's shown more strength in silence than you've ever mustered. This is your wake-up call. Earn your own way, or don't, but leave her alone." He hung up, a weight lifting from his shoulders as he stared at the skyline, feeling closer to his late wife than he had in years. For Ling, the days that followed were a whirlwind. Jian's harassment stopped. Cold whispers reached her through mutual friends that he'd been humbled, scrambling for a menial job while his fancy car was repossessed. She felt a surge of triumph each time she thought of Ita. Her silent vent had toppled his empire. At her new role in Wei Tech, as a sign language consultant for accessible light tools, she blossomed. Colleagues learned basic signs, her ideas were valued, and Mr. Wei became a mentor, sharing stories over tea that bridged their worlds. But the true justice came months later. At a company event, Jian, desperate and disheveled, showed up uninvited, begging his father for reinstatement. Spotting Ling across the room, radiant in elegant dress, signing animatedly with executives, Jian's face paled. He approached Mr. Wei, pleading, but his father signed to Ling first. "Would you like to handle this?" Empowered, Ling faced her ex, her hands deliberate. "You thought I was weak," she signed, Mr. Wei translating aloud for emphasis. "But look at you now, broken by your own actions." Jian's eyes darted, humiliation burning as onlookers watched. He slunk away, defeated, while Ling stood tall, her shyness transformed into quiet confidence. In a noisy Beijing mall, 25-year-old Mai, a deaf artist with a shy demeanor, sat alone at a food court table, her sketchbook open but untouched. Her world was silent, her thoughts loud with pain from her ex. How, a manipulative charmer who'd shattered her confidence, how had learned just enough Chinese sign language to woo her, only to turn cruel, mocking her disability, cheating openly, and harassing her online after their breakup. That day, as she sipped tea, a kind deaf stranger approached, signing for directions. Feeling safe in the silent exchange, Mai poured out her hurt, signing furiously about Hao's betrayal and her fantasy of exposing his lies, unaware that his estranged father, a tech mogul named Mr. Zhang, stood behind her, fluent in sign language and stunned by her words. Mr. Zhang, a weathered man of 60 with sharp eyes and a fortune built from nothing, had learned sign language for a deaf mentor early in his career. Estranged from Hao, he'd funded his son's lavish life out of guilt, but Mai's raw, gestural confidence detailing Hao's cruelty and entitlement froze him in place. His coffee trembled in his hand as guilt and rage collided. He'd enabled a monster. Determined to act, he approached Mai, revealing his identity and vowing to right the wrong, setting the stage for a reckoning neither she nor Hao could have foreseen. Mai's hands still trembled from the emotional outpouring as she sat across from the stranger, her fingers slowing as she signed her thanks for his listening ear. The food court buzzed, chopsticks clinked, voices overlapped, and the scent of dumplings mingled with fried noodles. But for Mai, it was all a silent blur. Her heart felt lighter, as if venting in Chinese Sign Language had loosened the knot of pain Hao left behind. She didn't see the man behind her, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, his silver hair catching the fluorescent light. Mr. Zhang's face was a mask of shock, his eyes locked on Mai's hands as they painted her story in the air. Each gesture was a dagger. He laughed at my signs, called them childish, cheated with someone anormal. Now he taunts me online, knowing I can't fight back. Her words, though silent, screamed of injustice, and Mr. Zhang felt them in his bones. He was no stranger to hard truths. Decades ago, he'd clawed his way from a cramped Beijing apartment to the helm of Zhang Innovations, a tech empire revolutionizing IT. But success had cost him his family. His wife left when Hao was young, tired of his endless work hours, and Hao grew up resentful, spoiled by allowances and unearned jobs at Mr. Zhang's subsidiaries. Mr. Zhang had hoped money would mend their rift, but Mai's story shattered that illusion. "This is my fault," he thought, his pulse quickening. "I gave him power, and he used it to destroy her." His mentor, a deaf engineer who taught him CSL to collaborate on early projects, had shown him the beauty of silent communication. Now, Mai's signs, a language of pain, echoed that past, demanding action. He stepped forward, his polished shoes clicking faintly on the tiled floor, and tapped Mai's shoulder. She flinched, her wide eyes meeting his. He raised his hands and signed, "I'm sorry to interrupt. I saw your conversation. I know the man you described." Mai's breath caught, her fingers hovering as she signed back. "How? Who are you?" His next words, delivered in precise, fluid signs, hit like a thunderbolt. "I'm Zhang Wei, Hao's father." Mai's world tilted. Hao had bragged about his rich dad, a distant figure he both envied and dismissed, but she'd never imagined meeting him, let alone like this. Her hands shook as she signed. "Is this real?" He said. "You don't even talk." Mr. Zhang's eyes softened with regret. "We don't, but I've funded his life via his apartment, his car, his job. I thought it was enough. I was wrong." They moved to a quieter corner, away from the food court's chaos, where tables were sticky with spilled soda and the air hummed with chatter. Mr. Zhang pulled out a chair, his posture rigid but his signs gentle. "Tell me everything," he urged. I hesitated, her shyness a familiar cage, but his sincerity cracked it open. She signed her story, meeting Hao at an art gallery where she sold her paintings, a delicate ink washes inspired by her silent world. He charmed her with clumsy signs, making her feel seen. But soon, the mask fell. He'd roll his eyes when I signed too fast, she recounted, her hands sharp with anger. "Said I was too much work. I caught him with another woman, and when I confronted him, he laughed in front of everyone, saying, who'd want a deaf girlfriend?" Her face burned at the memory, her chest tight. "Now he comments on my art posts, a nice try, Mutia, and shows up at galleries to scare me." Mr. Zhang's jaw clenched, his hands pausing mid-sign as he processed her pain. He saw his son's cruelty reflected in her trembling fingers, her downcast eyes. "I didn't know," he signed, his movements heavy. "I thought he was just lost. But this, it's unforgivable." Mai looked up, hope flickering. "What can you do?" she asked. Mr. Zhang's gaze hardened, a plan forming. "Everything," he signed. "He relies on me, his lifestyle, his status. That ends today." He pulled out his phone, his fingers swift but deliberate, drafting messages that would unravel Hao's world. To his CFO, freeze all accounts tied to Hao. No more transfers to the board of the subsidiary where Hao worked, effective immediately. Terminate Hao's position for ethical violations. To his lawyer, prepare to support a harassment claim if needed. Mai watched, her heart pounding, as Mr. Zhang showed her the screen. "You're sure?" she signed, a mix of awe and fear. He nodded. "He needs to learn consequences, and you deserve justice." But he didn't stop there. Sensing her talent from the sketchbook on the table, he added, "Your art, it's remarkable. My company sponsors artists for community projects. Would you consider a commission? A fair chance, no charity." Mai's eyes widened. For years, she'd struggled to sell her work, her deafness a barrier in a hearing-dominated industry. The offer felt like a lifeline, but her shyness made her pause. "I'm not sure I'm good enough," she signed, her hands small. Mr. Zhang smiled. "You're more than enough. Let me prove it." Across town, Hao was in his penthouse, sprawled on a leather couch, scrolling through his phone with a smirk. He just posted another snide comment on Mai's latest artwork, relishing the thought of her seeing it. His phone pinged a bank alert, account restricted, then another, employment terminated. His smirk vanished, replaced by a cold sweat. He dialed his father, voice sharp with panic. "Dad, what's going on?" "My card's dead, and I got fired." Mr. Zhang, standing in his office with Beijing's skyline glittering behind him, answered coldly. "You know why, Hao? I met someone told they a young woman you hurt. You mocked her, cheated, harassed her. I saw the truth in her signs." Hao's voice cracked, She's lying. She's just some deaf girl. Mr. Zhang's tone turned to ice. That a deaf girl showed more strength than you ever will. You're cut off. No more money. No more favors. Stand on your own now or fall. Houseworld crumbled. His luxury car was repossessed the next day. His apartment lease cancelled. Friends who'd flocked to his wealth distanced themselves as he scrambled for low-paying gigs. His ego battered. Meanwhile, Mai's life transformed. The commission from Zhang Innovation saw a mural for their headquarters to put her art in the spotlight. She worked alongside a team that learned basic signs, her confidence growing with each brushstroke. At the mural's unveiling, attended by Beijing's elite, Mai stood proudly, her ink-washed depiction of silent resilience drawing gasps. Mr. Zhang, there to support her, signed, "You've earned this." Mai's smile was radiant, her shyness fading into strength. Months later, at a gallery showing her work, Hao appeared, disheveled and desperate, begging his father for a second chance. Spotting Mai, he froze, his face a mask of shame. She faced him, her signs steady and bold. "You thought you could break me. Look at us now." Mr. Zhang translated aloud, his voice carrying across the room. Drying eyes, Hao shrank under the weight of his own disgrace, slipping away without a word. Mai felt a rush of triumph, and not just revenge, but liberation. Mr. Zhang, too, found peace, mentoring Mai and rebuilding ties with Hao, who began working an entry-level job, learning humility the hard way. Mai's art flourished, her silent voice now a roar, proving that even the quietest hearts can spark a reckoning when fate listens. If this tale of silent revenge gave you that rush of righteous chills, smash that like button to show your support for Mai and underdogs everywhere. Drop in the comments, what's the most epic revenge you've ever seen or pulled off? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We've got more Reddit revenge stories coming that'll keep you hooked and hyped. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes, the quietest voices roar the loudest. See you next time.